Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. Today's interview is sponsored by World Outsourcing Solutions, where we focus on helping business owners with all your outsourcing needs. Today's interview is one of those special interviews that we often have here at the podcast, and I have a special lady who's done really well, Nicki Morris. Now, Nicki Morris is a business startup expert who focuses on working with people who have the passion to start their own business. Nicki has over 18 years of corporate leadership experience and 4 academic degrees, including MBA in executive management and leadership. Now, something very special happened to Nicki in 2014. She fired herself to follow her passion to launch her own consulting and coaching firm. And she's here today to show you exactly how she's done that and maybe help you to launch your own business or even take your business to the next level. Welcome to the show, Nicki.
Great. Thank you so much.
Incredible. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us about business. The title of our interview today is a very simple one, and I know you're going to love this because it's something that we get to be asked very often when we are doing this. And the title of this interview is 3 business consulting mistakes every business owner needs to avoid if they are to succeed. Do you know who to go to if you want a consultant to help you in your business? Well, I'm hoping that Nicki is going to cover that one for you. So to get us started, Nicki, how did you get started in business? Maybe you can share your experience or your background with our audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you. I actually started off my career in the area of healthcare as a physical therapist, although I did not practice for very long because I found that I much preferred the administrative and management aspects of healthcare rather than the clinical aspects. And after a few years, I started working with my mom's healthcare company. She owned a healthcare business here in Toronto for about 33 years. And it was with her guidance and mentorship that I developed my passion for business. And through working there, I really started to see the types of issues and challenges that different types of businesses had. And that made me start to think about and look at the career of consulting. And so I worked in a few different organizations, all in the corporate sector. And as I moved my way up the, as they say, the proverbial corporate ladder, I started to gain more clarity around the role of a consultant. And I decided that was the career direction I was going to take after spending many years in corporate roles.
Right. And of course, during that time, you ended up, qualifying, getting overqualified. Maybe really qualify. You ended up with 4 degrees.
Yes, my first degree was actually a Bachelor of Science, and then my next degree was a Bachelor of Health Science and Physical Therapy, and I was going to be a physical therapist forever. I had a real passion for it at that time, and as I said, after I worked for a few years in it, I much preferred the management end of things, and I at that point went and did a Master's of Health Science and Health Administration, so I could understand the business of healthcare. And I did that, and it served me very well. And after a few years of working in an excellent, actually international health organization, the CEO there really encouraged me to do my MBA, at which point I did my MBA in executive management and leadership. And that degree has been wonderful. It created a great foundation for me to launch my consulting career, although I don't believe that actually business consultants in particular, need an MBA, but in my case, it really was able to be a big ticket for me.
Wonderful. And that really positioned you to help our audience today who are looking for a consultant to work with in their own organization. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to clarify certain mistakes that you see a business owner makes when it comes to choosing who to work with in their own organization.
Yes.
Now, in your opinion, what is the #1 mistake that business owners make in this area?
The #1 mistake that in my experience, I have seen is business owners often do not have clarity around what their actual business challenge or problem is. And that's actually defining what they need the consultant to take care of. I've had clients or prospective clients contact me that business isn't doing as well as it should.
Right.
Very common issue, common challenge. And it takes me quite a long time to dig into exactly what does that mean. Is it that your employees are not performing the way you want? Your leadership team is not performing? You're not making enough money? Maybe you're getting lots of leads, but your sales isn't very good. So I find that many business owners go to a consultant for help, but they haven't actually defined the problem that they have. And this can, and it's okay to go into sort of the second mistake that then happens, is they then can't budget, or because they don't know the value of that solution. So without defining your problem, it's very hard to know, how much is a company willing to pay to solve that problem.
Incredible. Let's, going back to the first one, how can they, have that clarity if you were to advise them, for the first time? What sort of tools or strategies can you share with our audience today that can help them to have that clarity?
Yes, absolutely. There's a variety of different tools that business owners can use to assess the health of their business. What I usually recommend is for organizations to break it into internal factors and external factors.
Right.
Your internal factors being, for example, your employees, your processes, your IT system, and really look and say, is the challenge we're having, let's say that we're not making enough profit is the problem, but really is it a people issue? Is it a process issue? Look at the policies, the standard operating procedures your organization has. Are you using your people effectively? To actually figure out, is that maybe where the root cause of the issue is? So there's the internal component, as I said. Then you have your external component. Has the environment changed? Maybe the taxation and laws have changed. There could be banking regulations could change. If you have a product and it's, your intellectual property is no longer being protected, that can have a lot of negative impact. So you really have to do what I call an environmental scan of your internal organization to figure out what's going on, and your external sort of environment to see what's maybe causing this problem that you're having. And that will really serve a business owner well to be able to narrow down or pinpoint where the issue maybe really is within their organization.
Incredible. And once you have all this figured out, you then find they have got the if they haven't figured this out, they've got the second mistake, which you've mentioned already. Can we explore that for a moment?
Yes, that second mistake really comes into what I call the value of a solution. Many consultants will go in and ask business owners, so you have this problem. What's your budget?
Right.
And of course, business owners often don't have a budget for it because they have no idea if this is a $1,000 problem or a $100,000 problem.
Right.
Because they don't know. Some business owners actually do know what their budget is, but they don't want to disclose that to the consultant.
That's right.
Because they're afraid the consultant might take advantage of that.
That's correct.
Right? And as business owners, especially small and medium-sized business owners, we're all very concerned about our top line and our bottom line.
Correct.
Right? So as you're interviewing different business consultants, when a consultant asks, what is your budget? That's really, when I ask that question, it's very much around what's the value of the solution? And so it's not to do with hours or days, because sometimes people will say to the consultant, well, how many days will it take you? And how much do you charge per day? And then we, of course, start to pass judgment on that may be too expensive. Where if it's really value, if your business is, let's say you have a lot of employees that are leaving, and to replace an employee costs, say, $1,000 or $2,000 by the time you run an ad and you take all the time interviewing them. So it can be extremely expensive to replace employees, right? So you say, well, if it's cost us $50,000 in the past year, Would a business owner be prepared to pay $25,000 to stop and fix the problem?
Right.
Possibly. So that's more from a value perspective. But I always encourage, business owners to I mean, they need to have a budget. They to go into an arrangement with a business consultant with no budget in mind in terms of what your organization is prepared to pay and how much they value this solution. It's very difficult at times to move the business relationship forward. But again, it has to come from the perspective of value rather than time and effort.
Incredible. So you have explained this quite clearly, to us here. In your opinion, what would be the best way to tackle this or to solve this kind of mistake, so that the business owner in our audience will know, if I do this, I'm better prepared to work with a consultant?
The business owner really has to look at what the cost of the problem is.
Right.
And we can give it from an example. If someone is starting their business and they need to hire a consultant to help them with their startup business plan or their strategy, they have to think, well, what is the value of that to me? In the sense of, if I don't have that, my business may not get financing, my business may fail. So there's a huge value to that, and I have X amount of money to commit to that. There are many consultants in the marketplace at all price points, and so that's where the business owner would have to say, you know what, I only have $2,000 or $10,000 for that, and then they have to find a business consultant who can work within that price point. If it's an issue that's ongoing, many of the listeners may have had their business 2 to 5 years, and it got up and going and it had great momentum, but 2 to 3 years in, things start to plateau. The business is not making as much profit as it did initially. Sales are not coming in as quickly as they were in the beginning, and they need to fix that problem. I encourage business owners to look at what their strategic plan is, their operational plan. What were their goals? What are their goals for 2016? And if they miss those goals, what is the cost of that? Right. If they miss their target by $1 million, are they prepared to invest maybe $100,000 or $50,000 to actually fix the problem? So they really have to quantify what the cost of that problem is, or what the opportunity cost in the future. If they don't do it, maybe we're going to lose X million dollars in revenue.
Right, incredible. I love the way you've actually paint a very good picture in comparison, losing $1 million instead of paying 100,000. That's such a beautiful picture, put it in perspective.
Yes, and again, there's different consultants at different price points.
Right.
Higher paid consultants are often more experienced, but that doesn't mean they necessarily meet your needs or can solve your problem better.
Again, you as a business owner, you need to do your due diligence in finding the one that has, can serve you better at an affordable price to you.
Yes.
And I think, again, this comes from the first challenge, we talked about, that they need to have a clarity of what it is that they have in order for them to say, okay, we will need somebody like this.
Yes, and if I can sort of summarize on the clarity, 2 tools which are very common, and there's a lot of literature online about it, is a SWOT analysis, which is a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats analysis. I encourage business owners to do that once or twice a year in their organization, and consultants can help with that if they need it. And another one, which is not as popular, is called a PEST analysis. So that's P for political, E for economic, S for social, and T for technology. So really looking at the political, economic, social, and technology influence that are happening in the external environment in which their business is operating and may influence the performance of their business.
Incredible. I love the, the way that you're putting it across, and it's quite clear to me that you've done this before. Other than these 2 mistakes which we have identified, is there any mistake you would like to bring to our audience today that you find business owners make, and how you can help them?
The third mistake that I would speak to relates to expectations.
Right.
And this is really a mistake that happens on the business owner side and on the consultant side. Because again, once you have the problem defined or the issue defined that you want the consultant to fix and provide the solution for and the recommendations, and you have your budget, and that's all settled, and now the work is to move forward, often the expectations of what the consultant is going to do are not properly defined up front. And an example is that, let's say the organization doesn't have standard operating procedures, and they engage a consultant to prepare their standard operating procedures for their human resources department, for example. And that consultant now produces that. But the business owner had an expectation that the consultant was going to also implement the policies and
Right.
procedures. And the consultant says, well, no, I was just going to write them and give them to you. They're for your organization to implement. So there's a challenge with expectations, because the business owner thinks they've engaged the consultant to develop policies and implement them, and the consultant believes they were engaged to just deliver the policies or the procedures. That disconnect can cause obviously a huge issue in the business relationship. And so that's just a mistake I often see. It's a mistake I made early in my days because I thought I was very clear related to my clients' expectations, and I would deliver my final report. I was very proud of it. I'd present it to their board and their senior executive, and then I would, is everything finished? Yes. And one time I actually followed up with my invoice, a week later, and
Yes.
they were shocked. Like, what? You can't invoice this. You're not finished. And so I realized, because we were not clear on expectations, or in more formal terms called scope of work.
Right.
You have to have that very clearly defined to make sure, because obviously, like, my client wasn't prepared to pay me, and I thought I was finished the job. So
Right.
that can cause a problem, especially when you're starting out. So that would be the third mistake, or the third tip I would give, is to have very clear scope of work and very clear expectations.
Incredible. This is all really good. In fact, it goes, nicely with the next question I had in mind here, as to what is the best mindset for, a business owner to have when they are going to consult with a business consultant.
The mindset to have is business owners need to be open-minded.
Right.
They need to be have a little bit of thick skin, because they're inviting someone essentially into their house who is going to be critiquing what's going on and maybe finding fault, telling them what's not working well. So they really have to go in with a very much of an open mind towards improvement and being able to accept constructive critique of their business. Because it really wouldn't be a good use of a business owner's money to invite a consultant in to say, you're doing everything wonderfully well, and now you're going to pay me $25,000 to tell you that everything's perfect. Well, that's not very helpful.
No.
So but many business owners, they want someone to come tell them what needs to be fixed, how to fix it, and what to do. But when you do, they're sometimes offended. But
Right.
we've done it like this for the past 5 years. This is the way my parents did it when they ran the business. We're not prepared to make that change. So they have to go in flexible, open-minded, open to constructive feedback. And it's not to say that they accept everything that the consultant is saying. You don't have to accept all the recommendations. You can definitely, I encourage my clients to push back if a recommendation is not reasonable or feasible. But at the same time, they do have to be very much open to the critique of their business, and that it's coming from a place of improving their business with the ultimate goal of superior operational excellence, operational performance, more profit, higher employee engagement, higher customer satisfaction, and brand loyalty is really
Absolutely.
what the ultimate goals need to be.
Incredible. Listening to you, what you mentioned about, inviting, a stranger into your house, I couldn't help it but think there may be a business owner in our audience there who thinks, ooh, they're nervous about inviting somebody else, yet they definitely need, some help. What would you say to a business owner like that?
Yeah, it is difficult, especially for entrepreneurs, because you're making yourself very vulnerable.
Right.
And I would encourage business owners to realize it's okay to be vulnerable. Business consultants do not come from a place of judgment. And if you do have a consultant who's coming from a place of judgment, you have the wrong consultant. At any organization I go into where people may perceive that I'm being too critical, again, it's really coming from a place of wanting that organization to succeed. So business owners have to realize that they need to be vulnerable, they need to be honest. I've had organizations where I've been trying to help them with their employee engagement, but they didn't give me the true employee engagement results because they were embarrassed that some of their divisions had less than 10% engagement.
Right.
So,
Right.
but by not disclosing, it'd be like you or I going to our family doctor and them asking what's wrong, and we don't tell them the truth. Well, the doctor can't help us
That's
if we
right.
haven't been vulnerable in sharing whatever our challenge or our health issue is. It's similar to a business owner. They have to be vulnerable. They have to be open and honest. Show all the bad things that are going on, and trust that consultant is not there to pass judgment on them personally. They're there to assess the situation and help put solutions in place.
Incredible. You have such a level of knowledge that is applicable, and I'm hoping that our audience taking note as much as I am right now. Now, you've been helping businesses for over 18 years. Do you have any specific maybe example of how you went in and identify those key areas that were not working so well, what you did to help them, and what happened, when you finished working with them, or when everything got back to the track?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I've many examples. My business relationship, most of my business actually comes through word of mouth. In my consulting business, I'm starting to do more things online, and that will obviously have leads and prospects through other sources. But in my consulting business, most of my relationships start off with what I call a discovery session. So they often contact me with a very generic type problem. Things aren't going as well as we want. We need help with X. At that time, we sit down either by a virtual type of conversation or face-to-face if we're local to each other, and have a very, again, that vulnerable, invoking discovery type conversation, and I take them through that sort of SWOT analysis. What is your organization doing well? What could you be doing better? How are you doing today versus last month, last year, 2 years ago? Is the business where you want it to be? What are your goals? What's holding the business back from achieving those goals? So a very deep type conversation, almost analytical, to determine really where the organization at and where they want to be. And I'm trying to think, so many different examples running through my mind. But one that comes to mind is a medium-sized organization. I'd say probably about 500 employees. We went through that type of conversation, and one of the things going on in their environment was the government was changing some of the funding that was going to be available to them.
Right.
And they really wanted to explore other types of opportunities that they could generate revenue. And so after the discovery, and I did different focus groups with their staff and their management and their board to really understand where the issues were for them going forward, what I recommend was doing a business development plan, where I would conduct an analysis of their marketplace in their region to see what opportunities they had to increase their private revenue. And what they'd have to look at operationally, what the demographics were showing. They were an organization that services people with disabilities and seniors. And although everyone knows the seniors population across the world is growing, where could they really focus and develop a niche type service, and do some business development action planning? So we went through all of the different aspects of the consulting relationship and I did the development of the business development plan. They set their targets of what they'd want in the next 2 to 3 years around private revenue. And that was sort of what I had to develop the plan so that they could achieve. And they're now in process of implementing that plan. They then
Incredible.
developed marketing strategy to support it. A lot of the work I do ends up being around business development because many business owners want to grow their business and they don't really know what to do next. So we make sure everything internally in the business house is stable, clean, operating optimally, and then allow them to build on a good foundation to do further business development and therefore make more money and service more people.
Incredible. Really appreciate that testimonial and how you're doing things there, helping people make their business much better. I want to take you back to those early years of you running a business, because I know that you are not a consultant, but you're also actually running your own business.
Yes.
You're an entrepreneur in your own right. Currently, you're running 2 businesses.
Correct.
I don't know where you get all the time from to do all that. Home and how did you get your first client?
My first client in my consulting business, what I'd done, and I'll go a little bit before that, because I was working full time. And for about 9 months before what I call firing myself, I had decided I was going to launch my own business and become a business consultant and a startup business coach.
Right.
And I spent about 9 months doing 2 things. One was speaking to people and really building my network. But very subtly asking them what types of challenges are their businesses facing. We'd just go for coffee, we would talk, and of course business owners love to talk about their business.
Oh,
and
yes.
They would tell me, they would share, oh, I have problems with this, I have problems with that. And we would just chat and have sort of an informal conversation. I would tell them about some things that I was doing at work, and that was it. But I was making a lot of mental notes around, was that networking contact that I just had lunch or coffee or breakfast with a potential client, and what were their problems and what solutions could I present to them in the future? So I was doing that proactively. So connecting to people on LinkedIn, meeting people at conferences, things that we often do in our day-to-day work, but I had a little bit of a different agenda when I was doing it. The second thing I was doing was saving up, because I was going to be walking away from a very lucrative job in the corporate sector. And I obviously needed to be financially prepared to do that. And I'm actually just in the midst of finishing a book called "To Fire Yourself to Ignite Your Passion," which really outlines the steps people can take to fire themselves and get their first client. So as I spent 9 months doing that, and then decided I was going to leave my job, I then sent out a newsletter to all the people that I'd been meeting with throughout the year. So to inform them I was leaving my job and I was launching this business, and thanking them for speaking to me throughout the year. And from that newsletter, I got 3 clients.
Wow.
Because in the newsletter I talked about, I've learned so much in businesses, and I was vague, so I wasn't disclosing any private or confidential information around the people's business, but that, these are some of the common challenges businesses face around leadership development and operational processes. And these are some solutions I might have, and I would love to speak to you further if your organization has any of these challenges.
That was very
3 people contacted me. One was a provincial health organization. One was a very large national corporation. They have about 25,000 employees. And the third was a very small company that I did 1 contract. And the very first CEO to contact me, which was in December of 2013, right before I left my job on January 6, 2014, they are still my client today. I am on my 4th project with them in 2 years.
Incredible. Well, you must have done something well for them to retain you, on that as a consultant for them.
Well, it's really about relationships. And if I can give a piece of advice to business owners, it's your business success is based on your relationships, not only with your customers, but also with your competitors and others. And so even if someone wants to meet with you and you're like, oh, I don't have time, I don't see the value, I don't know what I'm going to get out of that, because we're all very busy. Sometimes, and I had to make this mind shift a little bit with myself, it's not about what am I going to get out of it, but maybe how am I going to help that person.
Right.
And I can only give them 15, 20 minutes. That's not a problem. But to really ensure that you're always networking, both formally and informally, because you never know when that business opportunity could be there, or maybe just how you might be able to help someone else.
Absolutely. And am I correct to assume that now the business is growing, you have also included things like social media in your marketing?
Yes. In my consulting business, I do a little bit of social media. Most of my social media for that goes through LinkedIn.
Right.
Because obviously that's a professional type of networking site. I have actually had competitors of mine in the consulting business find me on LinkedIn and ask to partner because they see that I bring a different skill set than them to a project. Someone contacted me last November, total stranger. She saw my profile and she asked, would we like to go in on a proposal together to submit to a company, which we were successful. And we did a 4-month project for them earlier this year. So LinkedIn is very powerful for business owners and business consultants when used properly. In my new line of business, which I'm about to launch, which is really taking what I do in my consulting and coaching that I do in person in the Toronto area, and now moving it online with the launch of a new set of programs under the brand of Ignite Your Passion. That is totally online and a lot of social media. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn are my 3 primary areas of social media marketing.
Wonderful. Incredible. Now, let's talk about how your day is like now that you've been running your own business like this, for some time. How does your day look like?
My day, and it's funny, people often ask me that because I also run a second business called Vantage Solutions, which is, we really focus on very small not-for-profit organizations, and we do a lot of pro bono work with seniors organizations that often can't afford a consultant. And that's a totally different line. So between my consulting business and then my one servicing seniors care organizations more on almost a voluntary basis, I'm personally not as busy as people would think as a business owner. But that's today, 2.5 years into my journey. When I started out, I was very, very busy. Although when I was working in the corporate world, I was very busy, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Now I have found ways to be highly efficient. I have found ways to have systems in place that help my business. And probably my biggest challenge that I had to overcome was asking for help. And if I would try to do things for myself, and even if it would take me 4 or 5 hours to figure out, as opposed to getting an expert or an assistant. So I have used virtual assistants, especially around the area of research and data analysis on a project, where I've had to do quite a bit of statistical research for a project. I enjoy that, and I would spend hours doing it, but it makes a lot more sense for me to give that to someone else who is an expert in it. He or she focuses on it, and I'm able to sometimes take the afternoon off. And that's often what I'll do. So I often don't replace, if I've given work to say a virtual assistant to help me with, I might say, you know what, I'm not sitting at my desk till 6 o'clock tonight. 3 o'clock, I'm going to go out and enjoy the day. So I really try to build flexibility into my day. That said, I will do work on a Saturday and Sunday, but I would rather try to balance my life like that. But my typical day is actually every morning begins with my bookkeeping, a review of my financial targets for the month. Some people find that humorous, but it works for me. It keeps me motivated. I review my CRM, or my customer relation management tool, to see where my leads are at, see who do I have to follow up with for the day, plan my day, knowing that I have certain clients or prospects that prefer, they really respond to email later in the day than in the morning. So I plan my day that way. I really try to spend, over the course of a week, about 2/3 of my time working in my business, meaning working on projects related to my clients that are revenue generating, and 1/3 of my time working on my business. meaning business development, networking, speaking to people, thinking about what's my strategy going to be for my fourth quarter, what am I going to target, what new social media strategy might I implement. And so I really look at it in terms of on my business and in my business. And I do that in my typical day. So once I've done my morning routine of getting going and doing my business bookkeeping, getting my emails out, I then spend about 2/3 of my day on the revenue generating work of my clients. That could be client meetings, that could be project work, whatever it is, but again, working in the business. 1/3 of my day and 1/3 of my week is really focused on how am I going to grow my business? What new directions am I going to take it in? How is the business doing? Now, when business owners start out, I recommend that it's a little bit different. They spend 2/3 working on the business and only 1/3 working in the business. Because if you spend too much time in the business, you're not going to have a pipeline of clients coming to you.
Incredible. I love how you specify those. You know, looking at it now is exactly what I do, but I just didn't know. You know, you've articulated what I do. You're very talented to do that.
Well, many people do it. Many good business owners do it naturally. That's how they become successful. But a lot of times people, when they try to figure out, they're struggling, they can't manage their time, they don't have time for lunch, they don't have time for exercise or for family. When you really, break it down, they can usually find the time if they just really break it into working in the business, on the business, and then obviously the personal side of it is important also.
Incredible. Wow, this is very, very good, Nicki. I would like to find out how the community or the people in our audience today can get in touch with you, and maybe find out more about the services that you are offering now. Especially with the new project, which is Ignite Your Passion. Can we talk about that for a moment?
Sure. Ignite Your Passion is based on a business concept of online business coaching for people who want to gain more knowledge and confidence in either how to start their business or grow their business.
Right.
And so it's there's online group coaching, there's business idea consultations available with me, business strategy consultation, and also I offer a personalized, if people aren't comfortable in the group coaching environment, I also offer one-on-one coaching under the Ignite Your Passion. And again, it's really around building the knowledge. So people will often say, that I don't have an MBA. I don't know how to manage people. I don't know how to do a budget. I don't even know what a strategy is. That's my job. I have that MBA. I will develop it for clients if they want. I much prefer to teach them how to develop it themselves. So I will help them with their strategy template. I will help them with their environmental scan for their business. I will help them come up with their business idea. I will help them determine, when do you hire an employee? How do you trust your employees? And so I have modules that people will go through to be able to learn all of that. It's almost a mini MBA, hands-on, very practical to the specific business that person owns or wants to start. So that really helps give them the knowledge they need to do all aspects of their business. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, so I don't provide that type of advice, but I will provide coaching and direction of how people can find the answers as they relate to some of those more specialty areas. When it comes to the confidence side, a lot of times once people have the knowledge, they have the confidence. Or we spend some time talking about why don't you have the confidence? And people will have tried 3 different businesses and they've all failed. Right. Okay. Or I have a spouse or a partner or a family that doesn't support me. They roll their eyes when I tell them about my business idea. So I'm afraid. And I don't have confidence. So how can they work through those things? Because you can have the best business idea, the most knowledge, the most passion, but if you don't have confidence, it's going to be very difficult. Your customers will pick up on that. Your employees will pick up on it, and it's not going to be a good situation. So I really put those two things together, and it's actually the brand has relaunched today, and the website being nickimorris.com.
Incredible.
Is the Ignite Your Passion. Have a Facebook page, LinkedIn, can be found all over social media.
Incredible. You also have another very special website, which is Neoteric.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that as well, please?
Sure. Yeah, the neotericgroup.com is that's my first business I started 2.5 years ago. And that is the traditional consulting business where I work with business owners to help them with their employee teams, their operational performance, their business development. That business is based just north of Toronto. I do some online work and consultation, but it's usually within Canada. For that business, although if both the businesses, Ignite Your Passion and Neoteric, go hand in hand, it's two very similar things, just one tends to be in person, which is Neoteric, or a much more local, traditional type of consulting work, whereas Ignite Your Passion, under the nickimorris.com brand, that is online, and where I work with people through Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever medium they're comfortable with.
Incredible. Well, Nicki, you've been absolutely with being generous with your knowledge and your expertise when it comes to business consulting. One last question: if knowing what you know now about running a business, if you were to do it all over again, what would you change, or maybe what would you do more of, and what would you do less of?
Two things. The first one is when you own a business, and I made this mistake in the beginning, is be very, very clear on what you love doing and what you're good at doing.
Right.
The things that you don't enjoy doing or you're not good at, because there's some things that all of us as entrepreneurs do, we enjoy doing, but we're not good at. You have to find someone who has that expertise.
Yeah.
You have to turn to organizations that may have staff and get help. And again, whether that's a lawyer, an accountant, a virtual assistant, a researcher, whatever it happens to be, could be a bookkeeper for your business, social media marketing, someone to focus on that. You have to give up things. If you try to do it all yourself, you will be working 80 or 90 hours a week and actually not getting great results. So that asking for help and accepting of help is very important. The second thing, and this is a mistake I also made, is I did not understand the value of what I was offering an organization. So in my first 6 to 8 months of working, I priced myself too low. Sometimes people call that the imposter syndrome, where I didn't think I was worth as much as I was. And so I priced my services very low, and I got lots of business. And I thought, this is fantastic. And in speaking with people and with mentors, and then people saying, well, why don't you charge more than that? I was like, well, I can't. I'm going to lose business. I'm not worth it. I spent a lot of time doing more sort of competitive market analysis and really looking at what I was charging for my services. And 9 to 10 months into my consulting business opening, I doubled my prices.
Wow.
On new and existing clients, like when they came with a new project, and nobody pushed back.
Wow.
They all just, people just said, oh, okay. Some actually said, wow, that's much higher than we anticipated. And I said, yes, and this is the value you're going to get. I didn't feel the need to defend it. I just told them this, this will be the value. I think I had one prospective client say, no, we can get it for less. I said, no problem. And I was happy to walk away. Or at least I pretended to be happy to walk away. But for my existing clients, no issues whatsoever. So when people say, how did you double your revenue in your first year and my profit in my first year? all I did was change my pricing model and have a much better confidence and understanding of the value I was bringing to my clients.
Incredible. One question comes to mind in relation to that. How did you identify, the right price for, the value that you would bring to the market?
Yeah, that was a lot of the questions that I was asking people when in that 9 months before I left my job, when I was doing those informal networking sort of coffees and lunches and asking people, some of what their business challenges were. I was also saying to them, if you've ever worked with a consultant, how much did they charge you? And they'd say, oh, it was this much per hour or this much per day. And, did you think you got value from them? And what could they have done differently? So I had an idea in the marketplace what people were charging. Yeah. Interestingly, though, when I started out, I didn't think I was worth it.
Right.
Despite having my MBA, 18 years of experience, and I was doing a lot of consulting in the healthcare sector, and I'd been in the healthcare sector for 18 years.
Right.
So I was bringing huge value to them. So a lot of it was the market analysis I'd gained through my informal networking, to have an understanding of how to price the services. But that is a big challenge. It's a good question because it's probably one of the biggest challenges when someone starts their business, especially in the service industry. The
Absolutely.
Product industry, a little bit different because there's a lot online. You can search for products all over the place online, and you can see what others are charging. And the service-based business, because it really comes down to knowledge, is the product that I'm selling. It's very difficult to price in comparison.
Incredible. I'll tell you a fun story. When we started, we charged our clients really the base, and that was years ago. And then when we decided to raise the price, I think nearly double. It wasn't exactly double. We lost some clients. So in the beginning, when I was starting, I thought this is not good.
Makes you nervous.
Yes. But the good news is I had a coach just like you who said, if you put your price down, you will end up going to be working for free, literally.
Yes.
And it's not a business anymore. It's not giving you that financial freedom which you always wanted to. So those people who actually saw value in what we were doing and believed in what we were doing stayed with us, even though we increased the value. And for the business owners in there who are nervous about this, I'm a proof that you can still survive after you've raised your prices.
Yes, you and I, we share a similar story in that. And, to add one more thing to it, I never discount my prices.
Right.
And because I believe I'm pricing based on the value of the knowledge I bring to help a company or to help an individual business owner. So I never discount, but I do projects for free. So I've had organizations contact me, especially some small not-for-profit or government-based organizations, and especially they've been referred to me from another client or a colleague, and they're very clear on their challenge. They know what they want. They're actually very clear on their budget, which is very, very low. And in talking, when I tell them, well, this is how much it's going to cost, and they're like, Nicki, we can't afford that. Like, we'd have to put this over 5 years in order to afford it. I will do it for free. I do about 3 to 4 projects per year for free for organizations, especially if I have a personal value alignment to what their mission and mandate is. And I have a particular passion around seniors care. So if they are anywhere in seniors healthcare, I've done strategic planning, operational plans for organizations for free, and they've been significant amount of time, 10 to 15 days of work. But I would prefer to do it for free and let that organization get their value that way than to discount my prices in half and feel that I'm not getting paid what I'm worth.
Incredible.
And they also, they're more than happy to give me a wonderful testimonial. And 2 of the times I've done it for free, they have referred me to other organizations that have been paying customers.
Incredible.
So it has been great marketing. So absolutely. That's sort of another piece of advice.
Absolutely. When you give, it will certainly come back to you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a strong believer in pay it forward. I have a lot of individual coaching clients where I do some career coaching, and I don't charge them. We do 2 or 3 sessions, and I don't charge them because they just can't afford it. And I would rather ensure that to help them be able to find a great job than worrying about how they're going to pay me.
Beautiful. Well, Nicki, you've been absolutely wonderful, and thank you for giving such a great interview. I'm sure
thank you for the opportunity. This is wonderful.
It is amazing. The level of information you have given our community here is amazing, and when they apply that, in fact, I'm going to apply some of the things you've been sharing here in my own business.
Fantastic.
Because it all comes down to implementation of knowledge for it to work.
Yes.
Yes. If you're listening and you want to connect with Nicki, here's where you can connect with her. Go to www.nickimorris.com. That's NICKIMORRIS.com. You'll be able to connect with her there. Or you can go to the other website, which is another business of hers, which is the Theonetic Group. Do I pronounce that right, Nicki?
The Neoteric Group, yes. So TheNeoTericGroup.com. I know that's very long, but through either site, the NickiMorris.com, you'll definitely connect with me there, and I guarantee that you will hear back from me.
Incredible. And you're also very active on LinkedIn and
yes.
other social media sites. So people
yes.
will just need to type in Nicki Morris and in Canada, and you'll be right there to assist them.
Absolutely. I encourage people to connect with me. I love to connect on LinkedIn and engage in dialogue and help in any way.
Incredible. Once again, Nicki, thank you so much for being here with us. I would love to have you back at some point in the future.
That would be wonderful.
Incredible. We would like to wish you all the great success in your business over there in Canada and whatever you're going to be pursuing, and especially for the book, which is coming real soon. Do you have an idea when it is going to be out?
It's in final stages of editing. So I'll let you know, but I'm hoping by about mid-July, and then look to do for a soft launch with a big launch in September.
Incredible. If it's fine with you, would you let us know, and then we can make it available to our community, when you go, so that those who wants to follow on the work that you're doing can see what's happening with the book as well.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Incredible. Well, with that said, thank you for joining us in our audience, and we wish you all the success in whatever you're doing. I hope, like I've been doing, you've been taking notes, and you're going to make it happen by implementing these strategies that Nicki has been sharing with us. We wish you a great day, and thanks again, Nicki, for being here with us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye for now.